of
Yes.
Stylesetters Entertainment. And we also have, it went live, y'all.
Yeah.
And we also have Miss Midnight.
Hello, I'm Midnight Ace of Midnight Ace Book Bar and Custom Creations. It is such a pleasure to be back here, guys. And do we have a show for you today?
Indeed, we do.
We do. We do. And I am Iris Bolling. I'm USA Today bestselling author of romance, suspense, and a little bit of sci-fi. I might be getting something else soon, but I'll let you know about that later. But anyway, we want to welcome you guys to our new format. We're doing something a little different, and we're a little bit excited about this
I
because
know.
this is
Yes.
going to be fun. We are so happy to be back with you guys because we have not been able to really hang out with you guys since we left Cruise Inc. Radio. Let's give a shout out to Cruise Inc.
Cruise Ink
Radio
Radio.
for starting us on this
I
journey.
know.
But what we're
Yeah.
doing now, we're doing a format just a little bit different from what we did before. And we've changed the name of our show. The name of our show is Well,
Mhm.
There
There
You
you go.
No.
And we changed it because of the different things that we want to talk about. In our old show, our Iris Moments, we actually talked about books. It was mainly about books and our feelings about books. And Midnight gave us some ideas on wines,
Wine
and Miss
pairs.
Prissy gave us some ideas on music. So that's how we're going to do it. We're still going to talk about those things, but we're changing it a little bit because now this is going to be a bi-weekly podcast co-hosted by myself, romance author Iris Bolling,
Mhm.
Midnight Ace from Midnight Ace Book Bar, and also Cara Parker from Stylesetters Entertainment Productions. And we're going to share our views on books, music, wines, relationships, and
Mhm.
a lot of common sense things, that we're gonna talk about. Because what we found out is our shows before things be happening around us, and yeah, we're doing our shows on books and stuff, but all of us had opinions about what was going on with the things, the shenanigans and stuff that goes on
And
around
yeah,
us.
and how those stories that we read, how it applies to life itself.
Life itself,
Yes.
right?
Which is the most interesting thing of it all, coming from a reader's perspective. It is a beautiful thing to read a book and be able to be set in the scene,
And
whether
related
good,
and be
bad, or
related.
indifferent, because sometimes you can get, you can find a way out of your mess just from reading a book.
Just from reading a
This is
book,
true.
Yeah,
Or
which
find
is
new
which is
experiences just reading the book.
yeah.
that's true.
But sometimes the main love that we have about books and about stories, to be honest, is to take us out of our reality and
Hmm.
sometimes put us in a place where we can just relax our minds. And sometimes we just want to woosah.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
So
then
we
Relax,
sometimes you read a
peace.
book like by Iris Bolin, and then it makes you deal with the stuff that goes around you, which is also good too, because you got to stay
true,
woke, right? You got to
true.
stay
Yes,
woke.
we must
So,
So
always
listen,
be
listen,
aware.
whatever we do, please let's not use that word. That word has
something
been
to stay woke,
manipulated
Aware.
and turned
to stay woke.
Oh,
around and
woke. Oh, okay.
everything in a way that it's just you need to keep your eyes open. How
Right.
about if we
Be
say that?
aware. Be aware.
Yeah.
Make
Always
sure.
be
Yeah.
aware.
Yeah. Be aware. Yeah.
So one of the things we plan on doing is following the chatter and other shenanigans that's going on around us. And we decided that's one of the reasons why we decided to just name it simply, well,
Mhm.
there you go.
Mhm.
Because these things are happening around us. There's not a whole lot we can do about it, but we can talk about it. And
Right.
sometimes that just makes it better, with us just being able to talk about it. So in telling you that, what we're doing now is we're going to be discussing some books for the next couple of shows because that's our thing. That doesn't mean that other things isn't going to tiptoe their way into our
Oh,
conversations
absolutely.
because that will. But the one thing that we're going to make sure of is that we're going to stay on time because what we did before, we always went over our time. And we're just going to do better with that this time, ladies, right?
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
Okay, okay. Because our goal for this one is while yes, we're going to be going live with you on YouTube, we're also going to be placing this on the podcast so that you guys can listen to it later on. So those who can't sit down and watch us,
Mm-hmm.
that's okay. You can be in your car and you can be listening to our podcast and you can hear what it is, what we're talking about. You're not going to be able to see our shenanigans.
Mhm.
Okay, you'll be able to hear them.
Yeah, no, we might not want them let them in on the shenanigans.
No.
And
Yeah,
and
that
and
could
and
be.
and listen, artists, let me tell you, before we got on here, we was just, getting our seats ready and everything. It just started. All it takes is just one or two words, and then
Listen,
boom, we're right in it. And so that's the one thing,
Got
even though
me.
we hadn't been together for a minute, is the one
yeah,
thing that we did not forget, and it just comes so naturally. Um,
Yes.
and so we ask for your forgiveness sometimes when we get a little bit outside of ourselves, but it's all in love, I can tell you that.
Fall
it
in love.
truly
Fall
is.
in love.
And
Sisterly love.
I want to start our show with a little bit because I want to make sure our audience know who we are and why these three women think they come on here and talk to us about anything. you know. So I think they need to know that. So Midnight, let's start with you. Midnight, how did we meet?
Oh my goodness. We met at a book event, obviously.
Of
If
course.
anybody knows me, at one point in my life, I was traveling around here like I had it going on, honey.
You
If it was
did.
if it was if it was a book, if it was a book
Yes.
event, I was there. Whether it was planes, trains, or automobiles, I was there. I
That
think,
is
You
in fact,
were.
I
You
I
were.
think the amount of money that I spent on Southwest, I'm the one who painted those new planes there. I'm telling you, that was just me. So, and you can thank me later. So yeah, and I met you at a book event, and you were just in the process of doing you had just done the movies or the TV show for the Heart series, and you were just about
Oh,
to embark on.
we didn't meet until then. Oh
Yeah,
wow.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
after that. And then you were just about to embark on, you were in the state planning stages of the red carpet event. And I
Mm-hmm.
was not missing that. So I had to stalk you a little bit to make sure, hey, I'm here. You better let me know when you're doing that because I want to be there. So yeah, we met at one of AC Authors events. And we've
The one in
been,
Baltimore. We were
yeah,
actually in Baltimore. Yeah, I remember that.
yeah,
That was a nice event. I met a lot of people at that
yeah,
event. I
yeah,
met
I
almost
missed
the
that
whole
one.
Believe team at
yeah,
that event. I think because Kathy Kelly, that's where I met Kathy Kelly
yeah.
for the first time. So I met quite a few of the Believe team folks
I
at that
Yeah.
hadn't been
event.
to that event.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I had been following you long before then. I
Yeah.
had been stalking you online before then. But I didn't know how to approach you, so that was my perfect time right there.
All you had to do was walk and say, "Hey," and we're started from here. Now, Miss Prissy, what about you? Where did we meet the first time?
Face to face, we first met in California.
Brad, the first Brad
First
event.
Brad book event.
Oh
Yes.
wow,
Yeah,
that's
that's
Yes.
where
special.
we met face to face.
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
And that's where we began talking about putting a heart series on film.
On
Yep.
film.
Oh,
We
look
sure
at
did.
that.
That's where it
Okay.
all started with Nakia Smith.
Yep. Yep.
Nakia
Nakia.
Shree was there with us for that event, and that is where it all
Yep.
started.
We was giving her input of what she can do and da, da, da. And then Nakia said, "Oh, we can make this happen." She was just
But
going and
listen,
going,
it
and it happened.
it happened because we flew back home that Sunday or that Monday. That Wednesday we was meeting with the studio.
All I know it was in July and it was hot as haze.
Hottest, I don't know what it was that kind of hot when it was.
Yes.
Wait a minute, it was that
Yes.
kind of hot. Yes, it was. It was.
Well, I
Yeah,
guess
it
we
was
have
in
to thank you,
July.
Miss Prissy, for sending her that way with the Heart series and TVs. And my goodness, Iris, even from then, look
Yeah.
how far you have grown. What year was that? When was the first?
2013.
20. I was going to think it was 2014, but you're saying it was 2013 because we did the show in 2014.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you're right. You're right. It had to be. Y'all see Roxy's
Hmm.
Tokyo,
Mhm.
over here.
See, what y'all talking about?
Where is she over here? Over here. There she is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see ya.
She's like, what y'all doing over there? But
Yeah.
that is when we first met. And I know Midnight. I remember you, Kelly Murphy, Cinquetta. I can't
Probably
think.
Maisha.
Maisha. I can't think of who else was there, but it was a whole group of you that came to the premiere. To the premiere event. Girl, I was tired. Oh my Lord, I was tired
I
because we had
know.
did all that running around. We had so many people who wanted to come. We had to switch hotels like a week before the event because the hotel
Wow.
we had wasn't the ballroom wasn't large enough and we had to switch everything around. Oh Lord, that was a time. But we
Yeah,
had a good
that
time.
was. I remember it was a bunch of us that was in the palace, and we were chatting with you up at the palace, and because when you went back, you didn't move fast enough for us. And we like, when is this? Because we got to well, we need to get our plane tickets, right? We need to get our plane tickets. And so
But the thing about that is first we had to make the movie. You
no,
know,
yeah, no,
because
the movie was out by the time you left and went back from that event. I think you was already in the planning
oh,
stages
you're talking
of
about
it.
AC's event
Yeah, so
in
we
Baltimore.
we
Yeah.
were like,
Was that
okay,
before or after? That was after, right?
That was after California.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, definitely, because I think I came on the scene because I didn't even know about Brad when you guys did the first one.
Right. Right.
But yeah, when she came back and we were in the palace, chatting away like, okay, where we going, where we need to fly in at, and all of this. And I don't know what I wish now that I could have seen a bird's eye view of what you look like when you was in there, because she didn't respond back right away. I think you were too overwhelmed,
It
and
was a
then
whole lot going on, believe me.
and then you came back and said, well, no, we didn't find out until we actually got there that you had to change venue.
I had to change hotels. But
Mhm.
Cruz was helpful with that because I said Cruz is so many people that responded to this. We're not gonna be able to fit them here. We could
Mhm.
fit them at the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts where we did the premiere for the
Right.
Heart series. So
Right.
we could fit them in there, but the hotel for the reception afterwards, it was like, okay, we need 3 ballrooms
Yeah.
to fit the number
Right.
of people that's coming. He said, okay, Hen, you can contact these people, this hotel. And sure enough, they was able to accommodate us and they gave us all 3 of those ballrooms.
Yeah.
And
So
that was where
Was
my
that at the
girlfriend Barry worked at, and she said she was one part of the one that helped cater the food
have
in
put
there.
it together.
oh,
Yeah,
And they did have good food at that location.
mhm.
So
yeah, they did. And that was also the same time I met Shalise too in California.
in California, she came to that
Yeah,
event.
she
Mhm.
did. She did.
Like I said, it was during that time that I really met most of my Believe team folks, and I'm so thankful to y'all. So I do
Uh,
appreciate you guys with that, and it's good. And now look at where we are.
I know. I
Y'all
know.
know we've been doing this for a minute, right?
Yeah, we
Hmm.
have.
I was going back and I was looking. We had 9 seasons on Cruise Inc. Radio.
Mm,
Yes.
wow.
9 seasons
We
of this, and
were
these people
ecstatic
still
every
want
time.
more.
We were ecstatic every time because we was like, oh my God, we're coming back again.
I know.
Yes.
Yes. He's like, oh well, we gotta get some books in.
It was like, wait a minute. I don't believe he wanted us to come back, because
Mhm.
Lord knows we had some issues.
Right. Listen, we
We
wasn't
did.
following. Listen, he had to pull us in, y'all. He had to pull us in like the principal and say, listen, this is your last warning. You're gonna have to
So
clean
y'all
up.
can't
You're
keep
gonna
going
clean up
over
your
this
stuff.
time. I need y'all to take this thing. It needs to be 58 minutes and 30 seconds. We was barely making it in an hour. So when
Right,
Barely.
right,
he
right.
broke it down to 58 minutes and 30 seconds, y'all know we was really in trouble there. But that's
Right,
what
right,
he
right. Especially when he pulled
We
us all together. He pulled us all together. So that's what I said. We had a
did.
meeting of the minds at that
Uh-huh.
point.
we did. We did.
Did. But we did. We started pulling it together. And now I think we really have a decent format on what we're doing and how we're gonna go about doing it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And so that our listeners will know, one of the things that we are going to do, we are going to have different author stories that we are going to talk about in addition to music. in addition to some of the things that we touch on in politics, in addition to some of the things that we touch on with our wines and our
Everyday life.
entertainment. And from time to time, we are going to have guests on with us when we're doing this. But for today, the ladies have honored me by allowing me to be the first guest. So I'm a guest today, guys. And we're going to be talking about a story that I wrote called Sisters and Scandals. And it is only available in a printed collection copy of the Wedding Lassiter collection. And a lot of people are like, are you going to put this on ebook? Nope. It's going to stay right where it's at. And if you want to get Sally and Joe's story, who are the what are they called? The matriarchs?
They're the matriarchs,
The
right?
matriarchs of the Lassiter family, you're going to have to get that printed collection book in order to get that story. But it is a
I
story.
think that's a good
Yeah.
thing because all of them stories are good.
Yeah, yeah.
But thank
It's,
you.
yeah, it's no hardship to have this collector's item. And it is truly a collector's item. I mean, it was one thing to have all four weddings together in one book, but then you
Yeah.
add in the beginning of how the Lassiters
Came
became
to
that.
be. Yes.
And you truly, with this story here, you truly get a sense of why, the whys, the hows, important it was for them to be as close as
Close.
they are.
Yes.
You know, there when you see family, you think of the Lassiters because that's truly the way it was. But it was a journey for them to get
To
there.
get there.
And
Yeah.
that's what this story gives us. So this
Mhm.
is and I'm gonna
It
say
is.
this,
This
guys.
is.
Listen, this is a very short story, or it's a short
Yes.
story, if
It's a
you can
short
call it
story
that.
for Iris
But
Bolling.
when I tell you there is so much meat in this story, it's just amazing. The way Iris sets this story up, she's never without giving you a bifurcation to something else. And so you get that in this, but then you get a whole full story about Sally and Joe and how how they came to be. You get a little bit about why Sophia Thornton is the way she is. You get a very good understanding of that. And if you've ever read the Lassiter series, you kind of look at her and you don't know why this woman is so evil. Well, you know what? We still don't really know why she's that evil. She's just evil.
There are
Hmm.
some there are some
We
people.
do get a little bit of why she was evil. More
No,
No,
evil.
no, we
no,
never we
No.
listen, I don't even understand why she's evil. And I created her, but she is evil. And there are some people there's no reason behind that evilness.
And
Like
you know what? I just learned, not only you, Iris, but Gwen Bolton
mm,
had a evil Sophia. And another author. I was putting my books on my bookshelf. I was like, oh wow. It was at least 3 to 4 books that had evil Sophias.
but that
All I
might be
gave
a
was
thing.
Sophias. I was
yeah,
like,
What we should do is we should do when we select books again, we should base it on evil Sophias.
that would
yeah,
be
yeah.
that
And
would
That
be
was,
see and
yeah,
see
fun.
how many stories we actually come up with. And it's so great that you mentioned Gwen Bolton. I missed the High Towers, Gwen. If you're listening,
Yeah.
we missed
yeah,
the High
Yeah,
Towers.
Aunt Sophia is in the High Tower series.
Yeah, she
yeah.
is in the High Towers books. That's how I knew who you were talking about because I love
Mhm.
those books.
Yes.
But in Sisters and Scandals, um, unfortunately, um, Sally and her sister Belle went through quite a
Oh
lot.
yeah,
And we
Yes.
know Sally's story. What we don't know is Belle's
No
story.
story.
We know that Belle suffered. Belle went through some things
She
that
put her life on hold.
for her
yeah.
sister.
She sacrificed. She
She did.
Yes.
sacrificed,
Yeah.
and I would go so far as to say that she sacrificed herself so that Sally could have the life that
Happiness
she has.
could have
Right.
Hmm.
happiness.
Because
And
she knew that her sister had a good man.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's true. That's true too.
Well,
But
oh, go ahead, Iris.
what really Sally, not Sally, but Belle was into this thing about parents.
Mhm.
Both of them really were at first. They
Yeah.
were into this thing about parents until um, Sally's father lost his damn mind.
Yeah.
He lost
He
his mind.
really
I think he
lost it.
lost his way. There's a lot of PK kids that
It's
will
true.
talk with you and will say, their parents preach to them how they should be, but they
Mm-hmm.
don't necessarily follow what it
Mm-hmm.
is that they're preaching to them.
Do as I say, not as I
Yeah,
do.
exactly.
Right, right.
Mm-hmm.
And Sally's father had really stepped off of a cliff, and he could not find his way back, because when he stepped off of that cliff, unfortunately, the person he stepped off of the cliff with
Controlled his whole life.
controlled his life, and those around her who found out
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
controlled his life too at that point.
Yeah, because
So
I noticed another thing that Sophia probably took from her mother, character, because she didn't seem when she walked into that church, she didn't seem to be. She was just upset that her daughter was pregnant, but she didn't seem to be ashamed or anything. So I was wondering if she was the type of woman that gave him ultimatums: either you do this for that. And
Well,
it,
I
was
don't think what it was. I think the thing is why they kept, because you do wonder in a situation like that. You wonder why the wife, takes that, in there, and why it was so easy for her to take it. And but when there is money, when people are well off,
bring it
and they
on,
feel like people
bring
are
it
beneath
on.
them, and
Mm-hmm.
they
Yeah,
have this, it's like what we're doing right now. People have you by the balls, if you will, right?
yeah,
So they knew that if they had said anything or did anything to jeopardize that relationship, that
Right.
they were going to lose everything, which they did
Which
anyway.
they
But it
did
wasn't by
anyway.
the hands or the mouth of any of the Andrews, because that was their last name, Andrews, right?
Right.
It was by their own daughter. And I
right.
think they were paid to keep their mouth shut.
That's what it was.
Yes.
That's how they got the house. That's how the church
Mm-hmm.
kept getting
Yeah.
different things that was needed. That's how they got it. That was the mother's justification
Mm-hmm.
for not saying anything, for putting up with what the father had did, was because she knew that the finances for the church was
Mhm.
connected to the Thorntons,
Right.
right? And she knew that the finances of their home life, was connected to them as well.
And even with the Thorntons, like and then when you asked yourself about the Thorntons, like say the husband, why
And
would
who was
you?
was he a Thornton? No, their
Oh,
last name was something else. Thornton was Jackson's last name, wasn't it?
oh, that's right. I
Yes,
don't
that's
know. We
right.
did. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, we didn't know. I don't know what their last. I
Yeah,
don't. I
what
don't
I
remember
was
what
don't
their last
remember
name
what
is.
that
But
last name
it's
was.
Fallon? What was the
Farrell,
Pharaoh.
Farrell?
Farrell,
Right,
right? Because Glenn
Pharaoh.
Farrell, Glenn
right.
was a Farrell.
Mhm.
But even the Farrells, the guy, the husband, you know, he took that as well too. But then here's the thing: nobody wants that negative perception, because
Mm-hmm.
you're living in these neighborhoods. Nobody wants to
Yes,
be tainted,
exactly.
and so he,
Especially when you're a
right,
church body people.
right,
we're talking years ago too. During
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
that time, things now, you put it out there, it is what it is. But
Right.
back then, that's not how things went. So you really had to, you was like, reputation was everything.
Yeah.
Everything. And in
Reputation
some
was
cases,
everything.
it's still kind of still is.
It is, yeah, and in different parts of the world, still a lot like what it
What
was
what
back
it
in the
was back
beginning.
during that
Yeah,
time. Yeah.
Right.
yeah, and I think too the church plays a big huge thing in it, because you figure, would they have been that into that if it wasn't the church wasn't involved? And then my thing too is that when you make a mistake, because a human, even though you're a pastor, you're still human, and there is still error in that, and people have to understand that,
we see that even today.
Right. But see that, but people put these pastors sometime up on a pedestal, and yes, they can be very good, but they not
They
perfect.
fall short.
They're human, but they're human. That's the whole thing that we have to remember about our leaders, period, whether it's a pastor or other people. They're human. They're human, and things are gonna happen. But in this particular case, he took his actions and his shortfallings out on
his daughter.
He took it out on his daughter, and his daughter was. There is no way where he should have requested that she take the action that he wanted her to take, which was putting her happiness on the back burner because of something he did in the past.
Exactly. And her sister said it. Her sister said it. You the one that was wrong, Daddy. Why should she not be happy? Because of your mistake.
But the other thing about that too is, do you really want to concede to a bully? Because that's what Sophia was. Sophia was a bully, because once you give in,
a child bully at that.
Yeah, once you give in, it's not going to stop there. You better believe it came back
because it didn't. Even though she called him on his mess, she still continued. But my thing is that she would have never gotten what she wanted. It would have never happened. So how far would she have gone?
That's a good question. For our listening audience, we are discussing Sisters in Scandals by Iris Bolling, and it is the fifth book in the Lassiter Wedding Series collection book, and we're talking about Sally Lassiter and Joe Lassiter and how their love story came to be. And also we're talking about how there are reasons behind having so many children, because that is addressed in this story.
Behind Sophia Thornton has been around for a long
and
time.
We're discussing Sophia because Sophia's been around since the very first Heart series. If you go back to the Heart series book with Cynthia and her mother, it was in the very first Heart series book, Once You Touch the Heart. So Cynthia's been around for a long time. The Thorntons has been around for a long time. The Lassiters have been around for a long time. But you really find out about the character of the Lassiters in this story. I'm not talking about all the things they do with the government. We know Joshua is larger than life. Then you got Luke, and you got Adam, you got Samuel, you got Matt, and you got Timothy. All of them are really, really out there as far as that government and protecting that government. But in this story, you get to see the family unit, and you get to see how structured and tight these family members are. And they really show their character in that scene where they all get in the bus.
Get
on the buses, and they take that travel trip to North Carolina to meet a woman that has never been a part of their life.
Was never really mentioned.
Never been a part of their life.
Yeah, was never mentioned either. And then the other thing too we find in this book, which I find very interesting, is that the Farrells, who is what Sophia's name was before she got married, and the Andrews, which is what Sally's name was before she became a Lassiter, they're so connected. So it is almost by design. By the time we meet the Lassiters for the first time, and the Thorntons and the Lassiters are always like
intertwined. They're intertwined throughout,
right? But we find out that they were connected and they stayed connected throughout. They having children, which brings me to one question. Okay,
right.
So this has been out there, so this is going to be spoiler. So I'm sorry, guys, it's going to be a spoiler. But okay, so we know from the weddings.
No,
book,
you can't spoil it, but you can ask your question because you can't.
Okay, all right. So
You
my
can't
question
put
is,
that out
well, they're
there.
not going to understand the question. But here, let me just ask it. Okay, how close
It's too close.
is the bloodline? How far through the generations does it have to be between for someone to be considered family or not? Because we got an issue here that I
What's
know is
that?
going to be a big, eyebrow raise in there.
What's that
Well,
thing? Six
6
degrees of
degrees of
separation.
separation.
listen,
Honey,
that's
honey.
6 degrees. Listen. It's just certain things. It must be something about my stories because it's a certain thing that just comes out in almost every series that I have. And this thing about 6 degrees of separation,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's even in the Sims book. It
Yeah.
starts off when I start this siblings book, the Sims book, Society
Right.
of International Beings. We start out about the 6 degrees of separation.
Mm-hmm.
And look at where Sally's story started out way back when, and you're still dealing with those 6 degrees of separation.
You also had an episode of 6 degrees of separation, like where we really saw it in its true form in Flames of Passion.
Flames of Passion.
We
A lot of
really
people
saw
don't
it
know
in
about
its
Flames
form.
of Passion.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
Flames of Passion was a short book,
Right.
and it was done with in a
Oh,
trilogy.
that's the firefighter.
Yeah.
book,
Yeah,
right.
it was done
Yeah.
in a trilogy with Nakia Smithers and Loretta.
Right.
What's Loretta's last name?
Walls.
Watson? No.
It's not Loretta
Wells.
Walls.
Wells.
Wells. Loretta Wells. No,
Oh.
that's her last name.
It's
Not
Loretta
Wells.
Walls.
Walls.
I
Thank
said
you.
Wells.
I said
Walls.
that
Yeah.
like
Listen,
3
Yeah.
times.
it was gonna come sooner or later, but with Loretta Walls. And so then we took the story and made it into a short story, or it made it into a novella, an independent novella, and that is Flames of Passion. But that's an interesting story.
Very interesting.
One of the best kill scenes I have ever written is
Yeah, because
in
your
that
mind,
story.
honey.
I don't know.
Really,
Iris, you didn't done some really. You didn't done some
Yeah,
very creative
but
and
that
unique
one,
stuff.
Yeah,
but
you're right. That one, I would have never guessed that you flipped it like that.
Yes,
That's a good
that was
story.
one of the best kill scenes I have ever written. Is in Flames of Passion.
Yeah.
One of my least popular books. I mean, people still buy it. I don't have a book out there where people aren't still purchasing it, but that one is one of my least popular because it wasn't a part of
anything else
And
at that
you'd
moment.
be surprised at the end when you realize who it is connected to.
Right.
Yeah. So that's that. But Midnight's question was, how close is the bloodline too close? When is the bloodline too close? And we were talking at one time about, remember back in the day, y'all, when we lived in these neighborhoods and we had real community, Daddy had children in this house, and Daddy had children in this house over here too. We had situations like that going on. Back in the day, and when you was growing up, you may have known it, but what about those who didn't know, and you end up falling in love with somebody that might be your half brother, your half sister?
It was something on the news about that. Like, they actually got married. They've been married for 11 years. They have 2 children. They both came out normal, and they just did a family DNA. It's a Hispanic couple, and they found out that they were cousins, but they choosing to stay together. Now, they didn't say how close of cousins, because a lot of people believe after a 4th generation, it don't matter. Some people.
Well, I will tell you, I think these are generations, the way that this particular story happened out. But the 2 people that married Lassiters, the 2 Thorntons that married Lassiter, say they really didn't give a damn because they loved anyway.
Yeah,
Hey, like
They
that.
that is
can't.
true. Well,
But
at that point, it was too late for some.
Yeah, because they
yeah.
love who they love. You know, they
Mhm.
love who they love, and that's all there is to it. So that was a problem there for
Now
them.
now I can understand why Sophia felt tormented by the Lassiters.
Well,
And her,
MsPrissy, you had an interesting question. You said, "Do you, was Sophia justified in her hatred of the Lassiters?" Now, I think, in my opinion, nothing Sophia has done has been justified.
Yeah.
Nothing throughout all of the stories, and Sophia has done some crap in every story she appears in.
yeah, that granddaughter thing just took me to the. I was
Yeah,
through.
that
But
was
now you understand it though, because
Yeah,
look at how her mother
treated
treated
her,
her,
and she
and the
did the
exact
same
same
thing
thing
to her
that her
daughter.
mother did to her,
She
she
did
did
it
to
to
Cynthia.
Cynthia.
So she doesn't have a connect. She don't have a connection with Cynthia. She don't have a connection with Samantha, with her granddaughter.
Can I tell you one of my favorite parts of this story?
Uh-huh.
When one of Cynthia kids, I think it was Franklin, he said, "Are you a good grandmother?"
well when he said to his great grandmother. Yeah.
Yes. And she said, "Well, I don't know. I never been a grandmother."
What
But
he had a valid reason for asking that
he
question.
Absolutely.
certainly did. I was
Absolutely.
like, "Oh my!" He wanted to know straight up. And Mama
And
have to.
I'm trying to think what was my
I think it was
favorite part of that
Franklin.
story.
That was one of my favorite parts.
What's your favorite part, Midnight,
I
of
think my
Sisters and
favorite
Sandals?
part of that story is when they showed up on the bus and
Yeah,
they embraced them, and then when the conversation that Sally's mom, her and her mom had the conversation, and then they all said that Belle didn't have anything to worry about because she has family now.
That's
right.
right.
Well, I'm going to tell you that one brought tears to my eyes because that is exactly how family should be.
It
You know
is
what I mean? Good, bad, or indifferent,
different.
ugly, it don't matter. That is how family should be.
I
That's
agree.
true.
That was by far, and this just the way everybody just came in there and just did what they had to do, and then you had them introducing their kids, and
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
wish I was there. I mean,
Yeah.
I was there, but
Yeah.
I mean, I
She said,
literally wish
"Look,"
I was
she
there.
said, "Are all
Yeah.
Wow.
your kids your kids?" And she said, "Well, just 12 of them.
Right,
The
but
rest are
you
the
know what,
in-laws.
too?
They're married and their kids."
But you know what? So two things out of that book. Sally did exactly what Belle asked her to do. That's one thing. And two, I have a
Mhm.
question for you guys. Would it be safe to say that the Thorntons didn't know love until they met
They
Lassiter's?
did not.
They-
It would
I
be
would,
very safe to say that.
yes, I
Yeah.
I think
totally
that the
agree.
blessing, the you know how they say, let's break the chain.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
The Lassiters broke the chain of the evilness of the Thorntons.
Thorntons, I totally
They
agree
broke
with
they
you.
broke the chain,
Mm-hmm.
and the Lassiters' love was the blessing that God bestowed on Cynthia and Blake.
Mhm.
And Blake,
Yeah.
Yes.
But I gotta tell y'all what my favorite scene was
what's yours?
was when um I hope I'm in the right book. That might have been Luke's book. When Fire, it may have been
Look, MsPrissy, we not the only ones,
Right.
right?
no, but I liked when Fire was naming everybody. Prego 1,
The
Prego 2,
one that's
Prego 3, Prego
Okay. Oh yeah,
4.
yeah,
that was in here. That was in here.
Because she couldn't. She said that's the way she know who's supposed to be coming first. Because
right.
so many of them was
Well, who's
pregnant.
winning?
Well, they
She
had a
said,
bet. They had a bet.
yes.
Yeah, so many of them was pregnant. So that was one of my favorite parts. But my other favorite part was when Glenn walked into after the funeral, and he walked into the
I know that's my favorite part
when they
too. When
when he
everybody
walked
snatch up their
when he
wives
came
and
in and everybody started grabbing their wives, and everything, and said, no,
yeah.
even I mean, secure men. You talk about JD.
Yes.
He know Tracy not going anywhere. But we're talking about JD. We're talking about
Uh-huh.
James Brooks. James Brooks, of all people, he done grabbed his wife. And Brian just
Brian
told him, don't even try it.
Well, wait. What about Jesse? Jesse James' dad.
Just towards the end. Yeah.
Look, he almost knocked Joe out the way.
That was too funny. Was too funny. And I have a question for you, Iris. What made you stop Blake from saying what he was going to say to Jesse? Why was it important that he said that when he thought that their uncle was into Belle? Because once he would have said they're brothers and sisters, then
he didn't want him to know. Joe wanted the jealousy to be there.
That's okay. Okay.
I know what you're talking about. Joe wanted the jealousy from Jesse to be there. So he didn't want Blake to tell him that was her half brother.
He wanted him to own his stuff.
Right.
Yeah, because he was lurking around like he was so cool and everything, watching everything.
Right. So in hopes that Joe was trying to say, you better step to that,
Right.
And if he had found out that Glenn wasn't a threat, then he wouldn't have been as intent on stepping to Belle. And Joe wanted him to go ahead and take that step.
I'm gonna tell you, I can't wait. I know I was just gonna say I cannot wait to see Belle
and Jesse
and what happens with Belle and Jesse, and I cannot wait to see Glenn Farrell. I don't know what you have.
Glenn is going to be interesting because Glenn is actually going, and this is the only thing I'll say. So y'all don't have no fear.
He's too much. He's into politics or whatever. Because
Glenn is going to be like a guide for the next generation with JC and Elliot and Calvin Jr. and James Jr. and all of that. Glenn is going to have a big part. He's going to play a big role in that story, But Jesse and Belle's story is going to be, it's going to be a twister because it's actually going to be the beginning of finding out what really happened to Jesse's first wife and daughter.
Yeah, and then will you take us back? Is that when you're going to take us back to kind of tell us
to what?
Belle's story and how that offer. Okay. Because what I was trying to think of is when they lived, so since Joe lived in that neighborhood and they all went to the same schools, then that would mean Jesse and all of them went to the same schools too, out there because he was.
You talk about high schools and stuff.
Yeah.
They went to the same high schools, but Joe came to Virginia to go to college. That's how he met
Sal.
Right.
Because in there she said he was in college, in his second year of college.
Right.
Okay. Before I forget this, I think I already forgot.
Sorry.
I think I was going to ask you something about I forgot. But I think it was about the funniest scene to me was when everybody got together for those two special occasions, and the Lassiters bust out laughing, and then when the final one came up, the second one, when everybody got together, to say farewell, and somebody came over and said, "Why do y'all always have laughter when y'all attend these type of events?"
Because twice.
Yes. Because because the Lassiters are about family. When they get together, they do first of all, they cause creation. I mean, they cause chaos everywhere they go. And it's funny. I just finished the script for Ruby Red Slippers and all.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just finished the script for that. And the funniest thing about it is that story reminded me so much of Sally and Belle's story. I don't know why, but the two of them the two of them just remind me of each other's story. But with every time they get together, I don't care how solid they was in the hospital cutting up. And Ruby, Red Slippers, and all, Joe had gotten shot. And they was in the hospital, cutting up.
They didn't cut up badly, but
Yeah, they cut up in the hospital, MsPrissy.
A little bit.
Yeah. But then you had in Scandals, Sisters in Scandals, it was at the funeral. They cutting up in the funeral, but also this is where you found out that people was pregnant.
Right. Yeah.
You found out the new pregnancies there, and they're cheering at a funeral.
Yes. I was like.
But then they also cut up when they got to the repast when they were supposed to be, because Cynthia by far was just, she did not care. But Blake, he did have some emotional tension, even though
Blake did.
What I say? Yeah, Blake. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's telling too much.
No, I'm just saying he had some emotion,
But he did. But I also like the way that they all gathered around him too.
Yeah.
And they understood, this was emotional for him, even though they ain't give a damn. But they were all there really for him.
Yeah,
if it was up to Cynthia,
didn't care.
Cynthia would have said, burn her ass, burn her behind up, put in some ashes and throw her in the river. Cynthia might have even said, don't even bother to burn her up, just throw her.
I think even her daughter, she was like, why did I have to go? I didn't like her.
It's true.
Like, dang.
But the thing about it is, the Lassiters find a way to bring joy into everything that they do.
Yeah, especially when they come together. I do like their family gatherings and stuff because it's always something. I love, this is not this book, but when Ruby walked in, I think it was a Thanksgiving or pre-Thanksgiving, and Sally was in the kitchen with Joshua, and she was like, what did you do?
What did you immediately, because she knew they did something.
Right.
That was Joshua and Adam.
Yes.
Yep, it was Joshua and Adam. And she said she knew one of them had did something.
Yeah, that was in her book, Ruby Red Slippers.
Yeah.
You know what I was trying to find? I was trying to find where we had a chat, Iris, with one of your books. It was about the Lassiters. And one of the chats was one of the questions was, we said, who's going to have the most kids? And I think at one point we had a question about who did you think was going to have twins? And so I've been trying to find that poll that I did on a chat with you to find out who they said. So now that we know who have
now that the children are coming,
right,
we can go in and see. I still think it's going to be Jade.
I like what LT said, you keep it up, you're gonna find yourself end up pregnant. She was like, oh no, I got too much stuff going on.
That is true. But the Lassiters are a fun group to read about. And we're coming up at that point where we're gonna have to check our time, guys, because we don't want to go over. But I would say this, when it comes to Sisters and Scandals, where would you guys rank that in the stories of the Lassiters?
What do you mean?
It's 11 stories. No, it's more than that. Wait a minute. Because we have the wedding books.
It is 17 stories.
It is not 17 stories.
With that one, right? It's not a separate story. It's just in one book.
It's a separate story.
17 stories.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So where would you put
schedule?
Now, but Sally and Sisters and Scandals is a novella. So we're gonna have to look at the novella. So we know Ruby Red Slippers and All is a novella. And with the Lassiters. A Lassiter's Christmas, that is a novella.
All the girls except for Fire, Jade, and Opal.
Well, Opal
and Timothy did that book together because they do everything together.
Yeah.
They can't help it. That was that's another story that people really they're missing a lot out of symmetry.
Mm-hmm.
Symmetry is,
I
is
love
another story
symmetry.
that was kind of deep. So okay, so Sisters and Scandals is the extra bonus that's in the back of a Lassiter's wedding
Weddings.
series,
Mm-hmm.
and it can only be purchased from my website, and it's only in paperback, and
Right.
it's a big book, guys.
Yeah. It's
It's
the
over there. It's
Lassiter
like in a
wedding
big
collection with all of the Lassiter wedding
Weddings.
stories in one book plus the bonus story.
so you
Yeah.
get 4 weddings, you get an international affair, which is Luke and Sasha, then you get a risky affair, which is Fire and LT, then you get a family affair, one of my favorites, which
Leah
is
and
Luke,
Matt and
which
Leah.
is Matt and Leah,
Nice.
and then you have a Christmas affair, which is Jade and Blake. So you get all 4 of those wedding stories plus the Sisters and Scandals, which is the beginning of all of the Lassiters.
Right, right.
So
Right.
when you if you all get a moment, go out there and grab your own copy so that you can read it and you can see how the Lassiters began. So
The beginning.
Which is
that's
was a
that.
wonderful story. It really
It
was a
really
very
is.
good story. And it does answers a lot of little, annoying questions about the series along the way.
And about the
Mhm.
people, like why we got to meet Joe's family finally. And
Mhm.
the Lassiters of Connecticut is where you're gonna get those 4 stories that's gonna connect a whole lot of dots about Jesse's wife's and daughter's death.
Hmm.
I said death.
Look,
Like,
she looked like
look,
where
I
there.
see the
She
story
looked
running
just
through her
like her
head.
"Well,
Like
there you go" picture, didn't she?
There you go. Well, there you go. All right, so you are gonna get that, and it's gonna be a twister. It's
Yeah.
it's gonna be a twister. In that particular one. But now, ladies, we're coming on at a time where we have to kind of wrap things up a little bit. So I want you all to just take a minute and tell us your overall thoughts of Sisters and Scandals. Let's start with you, Midnight.
I think Sisters and Scandals was a nice summation of the Lassiters. I thought the weddings were cool, but to get this story here, it sums it up real nicely. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm a person who is all about family, and so I was in heaven with this book.
Well, cool. Now, Miss Prissy, what
Overall,
about
5 stars.
Well, thank you, Miss Midnight. What about you, Miss Prissy?
well, I'm like Midnight. I'm all about family, and I was happy to know the things that happened with Sally. You know how her and Joe became, and why her and her sister didn't communicate and everything. And I was I was finally happy that Pearl let everything go because her feelings on
Yeah,
Joe,
yeah.
and she was still in that. I bet you it has something to do with it. I was like, girl, would you just get over it?
But when you don't know though, Miss Prissy, so when you don't know,
Right.
when you're
Right,
not informed, your head goes everywhere.
right. And it I think when Sally was telling, because remember when they said, what's Sally's hey, what's that word? Scandal.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And everybody was like trying to gang up on her.
What, Sally and Scandal? No.
I think for me the one thing that I enjoyed about the story more than anything else is showing just how strong Joe and Sally's love was from the
Oh,
very beginning
Yes, that
and
was
all throughout.
yeah.
right. She
And
was
all
climbing
throughout.
through the window.
Yes. To go get that man. Go get that man. Okay, so ladies, again, thank y'all so much for allowing me to be the first guest so guests on the show to talk about Sisters and Scandals. So thank y'all so much for that. Now, before we have to go, I would like for each of you to just take a minute, and we're gonna start with you, Miss Prissy. If you would let the audience know exactly. what is Stylesetter Productions? What is Stylesetters Entertainment? Because you have that listed underneath of your name. So tell us a little bit about it. You have 1 minute.
Stylesetters Entertainment Productions is about music. It's really about all forms of entertainment, from books, music is our main thing, and also graphics. And we try to combine, for people that need it, we try to combine those things in a way that can work for them. Like for in commercials, if people need music, if people need viral videos, we apply music to that
The
for whatever
music for
they
our
have.
show.
Mhm.
Right. So there's a multiple of things that we offer, and we will have our website up soon. So look for it, and we'll be happy to serve you if you need any of those services.
And how can people reach you right now?
Right now, I can be reached via email or social or any of my social media platforms, which is Stylesetters Entertainment on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you want to contact me, you can reach me by email at styleset.et@gmail.com. stylesett.et@gmail.com.
It's so
I'll be
good to
glad
hear
to
the
hear from
rhythm. You
I
you.
see how
know.
she got the rhythm right back. She got the rhythm back. And also, Miss Prissy, we can see your computer screen and your eyeglasses.
I'm
Anyway,
sorry.
um,
Well, it's
Midnight, if you would take a minute and let people know who you are and what it is that you're about and where they can find you.
I am Midnight Ace. I am CEO and founder of the Midnight Ace Book Bar and Custom Creation. So I am a book ambassador and a custom creator. And what I do for on my website, which you can find, is I'm supporting of all things literary, whether that's being providing an ad space for you so that you can provide your next labor of love across the world, or I am creating something that you can give your readers, or just with your business. So I am all those things, and you can find me on social media, Midnight Ace Book Bar. That's Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Also, at my website is www.midnightacebookbar.com. And of
Mhm.
course, my Gmail is also Midnight Ace Book Bar. Contact me for any type of services, whether or not you need a custom creation or if you just need to have your next labor of love posted across the world.
And I will tell you, as an author, again, I'm Iris Bolling. I am a USA Today best-selling author. And for both of these services that Midnight Ace has spoken about and Miss Prissy Parker has spoken about, I use them. When we did our film work, and we used style setters for our scoring on one of our movies. We also use style setters and their music for the beginning music, the intro music to our shows and things of that nature. Or when I'm creating something, and I'm always doing something, I
Yeah.
reach out to them and we get the music, because you need music. Music is the key to your soul, so you need the music. So
Yes,
we
yes,
do use them a
indeed.
lot for that. And in addition to some of the graphics that Miss Prissy team does, we've also used them for some of the graphics on different book projects and things that I do. As far as Midnight Ace Creations is concerned, there's so many things that she has created for us and for others too. When you get the little swag things that you get inside of the bags when you purchase books or when you come to a book event, those are the types
Mhm.
of things that Midnight Ace provides for us. So, and I have used their services, and there's other services I use in addition. But these two ladies are people that not only are we doing this together, we also support each other
Each other.
businesses, which is
Yes.
a key thing for us. So
Yes.
we're coming to the end of the show, and I want to thank all of our listeners out there for joining us on our inaugural, well, there you go, podcast. And we will be back next week. I'm not sure. Yep, we're doing Olivia Matthews next week, aren't we? We're doing a book by Olivia Matthews next week. So come back in and join us.
Well, it's actually week after next. We're
We're
bi-weekly. We're bi-weekly show.
The next time that you hear from us, it will be a book by Olivia Matthews. Did I say that a better way?
Yeah.
Okay, so there we go. So now we have to end our broadcast. And again, thank you for joining us. And all we can say is, well, there you go.